You think you lack discipline. You tell yourself that every time you quit, every time you choose comfort instead of doing what you know you should. You say, I just need more willpower. But that's not the truth, because if it was, you wouldn't struggle this much. You're not undisciplined. You're just too comfortable. And comfort is quietly destroying your potential. Look at your life. Everything is easy. Food is instant. Entertainment is endless. Distraction is always one tap away. You don't have to struggle anymore. And that's exactly the problem. Because your brain was not designed for constant comfort. It was built to adapt, to challenge, to resistance. But now you avoid anything that feels hard, anything uncomfortable, anything that requires effort. And without realizing it, you've trained yourself to escape growth. You don't choose comfort once. You choose it every day, in small decisions, in silent moments, in things no one sees. And those choices are shaping your life, not your goals, not your intentions, your choices. So before you say you lack discipline, ask yourself this: are you really undisciplined, or have you just become addicted to comfort? You don't notice it at first. It feels normal, choosing the easier option, skipping the hard task, delaying what matters just this once. That's what you tell yourself, just this once. But it's never just once, because comfort doesn't ask for permission. It becomes your default. You wake up and reach for your phone. You sit down to work and look for something easier. You feel resistance and immediately try to escape it. Not because you're weak, but because you've trained yourself that way. Your brain has learned a simple pattern: avoid discomfort, seek ease, repeat. And every time you follow that pattern, it gets stronger, until one day you don't even question it anymore. You just follow it automatically. You don't choose discipline. You choose what feels good, what feels easy, what feels safe, and slowly that becomes your identity. You start to believe, this is just who I am, someone who can't stay consistent, someone who starts but never finishes. But that's not your identity, that's your conditioning. A pattern built over time, reinforced in silence, and lived every single day without you even realizing it. This is where most people get it wrong. They think the problem is motivation. They think they need more discipline, more willpower, more control. But the real problem is much deeper than that. Your environment is built for comfort. Everything around you is designed to remove friction, to make life easier, to eliminate effort. Food arrives instantly, entertainment never ends, distraction is always available, and your brain adapts to that. It learns that everything should feel easy, fast, effortless. So when something requires patience, focus, or effort, it feels wrong, unnatural, almost painful, and your brain reacts immediately. It tells you to stop, to switch, to escape. Not because the task is impossible, but because it doesn't match the world you've adapted to. You're not just choosing comfort, you're being conditioned by it every day, in small ways, in invisible ways, until discomfort feels like a threat and comfort feels like safety. And once that happens, growth becomes something you avoid, not something you pursue, because growth always lives on the other side of discomfort. And if your brain sees discomfort as danger, you will never stay long enough to grow. Comfort is not just a feeling, it's a system that slowly rewires your mind. Every time you choose what's easy, you strengthen that system. Every time you avoid effort, you reinforce it. And over time, it becomes automatic. You don't think about it anymore. You just follow it. Because your brain is built to conserve energy, to avoid unnecessary effort that was useful once. It helped humans survive. But now, it's working against you. Because your life no longer demands a struggle, it offers convenience constantly. And the more convenience you consume, the less tolerance you have for discomfort, until even small challenges feel overwhelming, until focus feels exhausting, until discipline feels impossible. Not because it is, but because you've lowered your threshold. You've trained your mind to operate at the lowest level of resistance, and anything above that feels like too much. That's why you start things, but don't finish. That's why you plan, but don't act. That's why you want more, but stay where you are, because comfort has set the standard, and everything else feels like a struggle. So what changes? If comfort is the problem, then discomfort becomes the solution. Not extreme discomfort, not suffering for no reason, but small, intentional resistance, the kind you usually avoid, the kind that feels just uncomfortable enough to make you want to stop. That's where everything starts to change, because discipline is not built in comfort. It's built in those moments when you don't feel like doing the work, but you do it anyway. When your mind looks for an easier option and you choose the harder one, not because you enjoy it, but because you understand it. You understand that growth requires friction, that progress requires effort, that the version of you that you want to become only exists on the other side of resistance. So you stop waiting to feel ready, you stop waiting for motivation, and you start acting despite how you feel. That's the shift, from comfort to control, from reaction to intention. And it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small decisions, repeated daily, quietly, until discomfort no longer feels like something to avoid, but something you use. This is where everything separates. The people who stay average and the people who move forward. It's not talent, it's not intelligence, it's not even opportunity. It's tolerance. Tolerance for discomfort, the ability to stay when things feel hard, when it's boring, when it's slow, when there's no reward, because most people can't do that. They need a stimulation, they need progress to feel good, they need results to stay consistent. And when those things don't come, they quit. They go back to what feels easy, back to comfort, back to distraction. But the ones who win don't rely on that. They understand something different. They understand that results come later, that progress is invisible at first, that the work feels pointless before it starts to work. So they keep going, not because they feel motivated, but because they've trained themselves to stay, to focus, to tolerate the discomfort. And in a world where most people avoid that, that becomes an advantage, a quiet one, but a powerful one. Because while others stop, they continue. While others escape, they build. And over time, that difference compounds into something most people will never reach. So the next time you tell yourself, I just need more discipline, stop and look deeper, because it's not discipline you're missing. It's resistance you're avoiding. It's discomfort you're escaping. And it's comfort you keep choosing again and again. not in big decisions, but in small ones, silent ones, the ones no one sees, but the ones that shape everything. Because your life is not built on what you want, it's built on what you tolerate. And right now, you tolerate comfort, you tolerate ease, you tolerate staying the same. But if you want something different, you have to change that. You have to raise your standard, not your goals, not your plans, your standard for what you're willing to do, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't feel like it, because that's where your future is, not in comfort, not in ease, but in the decisions you avoid, the effort you resist, the discomfort you run from. That's where everything changes, and most people will never go there. They'll stay where it's easy, where it's safe, where nothing really happens. But you won't, not anymore, because now you see it. And once you see it, you can't go back. The only question is, what are you going to do next?